Hello and welcome to episode 133 of the She Must Knit podcast. My name is Erin and thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. I hope you guys have had a great couple of weeks. It's been a bit longer than what my usual has been. I did mention in the last episode that I had a show coming up. It was at the end of June, and yeah, I knew I wasn't going to be able to do a lot of knitting, and that ended up being the case. So just a little update, the show went really well, and I actually have another one coming up in a few weeks again. I have 2 more shows for over the summer, one the first week of August and the other one towards the end of August. So yeah, if you're in the GTA area and you're going to be going to either the new show in Erin, if you haven't heard about that happening, look it up. It's going to be, in Erin, and it's a new show. It's going to be in the agricultural center that's being built there, and it sounds like it's going to be really fun. There's going to be some food trucks and some other things, lots of interesting vendors. This is their first year, so it's going to be really exciting. And then I'm going to have my usual show that I've been to for several years in Barrie at the end of August. So all that to say, I didn't get much knitting done after the last episode, and so I took a little bit of extra time just to try and actually work on some things. And also, going forward over the next couple of weeks, I don't know how my knitting time is going to go either, because also school's out for the summer. Oh my goodness, Avery's home now every day. We just got through our first week of her home. So yeah, with just everything going on, I don't know how much knitting I'm going to do. But I did take some extra time just to work on some of my goals from the last episode. And so I have some things to show you today. I don't know how long this episode will be, but I think shorter episodes are just easier to watch. So hopefully it will all work out. The only other thing I want to mention before going into my projects is that because I had a show and because I was making all kinds of stuff for the show and then came back from the show, I have updated my website with some new items, and also stay tuned over the summer. There will be more items every time I make stuff for show and then come back. All those new items are going to be put on my website, so there's going to be lots of new stuff over the next several weeks. And then finally, it's July, guys, and if you've been a long-time viewer, you might know what that means. My birthday's in July, and I usually have a birthday sale. So today is Friday, and my birthday is actually on Sunday. So usually I do different days depending on kind of where my birthday falls, and I think because my birthday is falling on a Sunday this year, I am going to do the whole week. So just from the Sunday, from the 16th to the following Saturday, that whole week is going to be 30% off on my website, and that applies to ready to ship items. So yeah, if you're interested, you can go check that out. Usually my coupon code is just birthday, and that should all be set up by the time, well, it depends on how long it takes me to edit this, but if I get it up before Sunday, it will be available shortly after. Actually, you know what? Even if I get this up before Sunday, I will have the coupon code activated, and so if you get there early, good for you. So let's get into the knitting. First, I'm going to go over the goals that I made from the last episode to see what I was able to do. And I did make my goals less last time just because I knew I wasn't going to have a lot of knitting time. So I actually did manage to kind of meet most of these. So last time I said I wanted to get the next section of my exploration station done. I wanted to finish at least the first sock from my Bling socks. I wanted to work on my aqua and green microstripe socks, and then I was hoping to get the second bobbin done from my spinning project. So let's start off with the socks that I've been working on, and I did in fact manage to finish the first sock from my Bling socks. This is the project that I've been bringing with me when we've been going to the splash pads and the parks and the library, because yeah, I mentioned this before, I needed just an easy grab sock to work on with no fuss, no muss, and this has turned out to be exactly what I needed. So I managed to get the first one done, and you can kind of see what's been happening there with the sock blank and how the way that it was dyed is working up into the knitted fabric. I will show you the rest of the sock blank. So I think you can see with this, there's like kind of this bigger, darker portion up here, and then it got lighter. And I think we're going back into a darker portion again. And you can see that there. So we're getting back into a darker section. So the next sock, I mean, obviously with Bling socks, they're not going to match. But I think the next one will kind of have a darker section at the top of the sock as well, and then kind of go into a lighter section. And this is a sock blank that I dyed who knows when. I found it in my kind of scrap bins, and yeah, I don't know why it was in there, but it was. And I needed something that kind of had like reds in it, because that was something that my brother requested, is like, you know, reddish socks, and this was the closest I was able to find, along with this little contrast that I did for the cuff and the toe. This yarn, I don't know what it is. It was, again, I found it in my scrap bin, but it would just be your standard kind of sock weight superwash wool nylon blend as well. So I was able to get that first sock done, and hopefully over this coming weekend, I think we're supposed to have a pretty rainy weekend, so hopefully I can get some time at home, get that second sock cast on, and then it will be in my knitting bag, in my park bag, just ready to go when I need something to work on. So the other goal that I had was to at least put some more work into the microstripe socks that I've been working on, and I was able to do that as well. So the Sock Bling socks are the second pair of socks that I'm working on for my brother Evan. I kind of revised my goal this year because I've been much more productive at socks. I think actually when I finish those Sock Bling socks, I think that will be my 8th pair this year. And last year, 8 pairs is all I made for the entire year. So we're just past the halfway point of the year, and I've already made the total amount that I made last year. So I'm doing really well. And I kind of decided after I finished those, the last pair, that I'm just going to try and make my brother's 2 pairs of socks for Christmas this year. So this is the pair that I cast on as the second pair, I think, for my brother Owen. And I am doing them in the microstripe style that I've just been really, really enjoying. And I just want to say, if the lighting is a little funky this time, I have to record at night today. I just haven't been able to find another time, and this just ended up being the best day because Dennis and Avery are out for the evening. I have the house to myself. Kira went to bed, so it's kind of evening, the sun is setting. So yeah, if the light is funky, that is why. I will try to keep on going forward. I will try and do it during the day if I can, but you get what you get sometimes, right? I gotta take the moments when I can take the moments. So if the coloring is a little off on this, that's probably why. It's just the lighting's a little weird right now. But this is the first sock. It's another microstripe sock because I am just really enjoying those. You're gonna see, I think I'm gonna share with you the next sock I want to cast on, which is also gonna be a microstripe sock. But I'm just having so much fun combining different yarns. So for this one, I'm actually combining a kind of speckly yarn as the yarn, the color that runs all throughout the sock. And then I picked kind of a solid color for the middle portion of the sock. And the last time I showed these to you, I was up where this stitch marker is, and I've been able to finish all of this over the last couple of weeks. So I got to the heel, I did my little heel creases, I did my little heel like turn thing, I do the strong heel, so I got that done. Now I'm working it down the foot, and it looks like I have 5 stitch markers in. I don't know if you can see those there. I've got 5 stitch markers in where I'm counting my rows. So I have done 50 rows so far, and for my brother's socks, I do 75 rows before I do the toe. So I am almost there. If I decide that I want to stay up tonight, we'll see how tired I am. I might work on this, and maybe I can get close to doing the toe. Maybe I can get the toe done this weekend too, who knows. But yeah, the yarns that I am using are these 2 here. So we have this kind of speckly green one. I think I forgot what the name of this yarn was last time too. Why wouldn't I write it down? I don't know. I talked about it when I first introduced these socks. I think I did mention it, but it's just, again, your standard kind of sock weight yarn. But this one is a speckly kind of green, speckly variegated one. And then this is one of those tweed yarns. You can kind of see the flecks in there. And this actually came as a set of 2 50-gram skeins. There was this kind of aqua and then this lime green. So the first sock I'm doing, I'm combining the speckly yarn with the aqua, and then the second yarn, or the second sock that I'm going to do, I'm going to combine the speckly yarn with the lime green. So they're kind of going to be like a mismatched pair, and I think it's going to be really fun. And we'll also keep it interesting for that second sock because it will be like casting on a whole new sock kind of. But yeah, so I think that will be really neat. I think my brother will like those. And that's what I've done on that. Those are the only 2 socks that I have on the needle right now. Sometimes I like to have 3 socks cast on, but I think as long as I have one pair that is very easy, just straightforward knitting, I can kind of have 2 pairs that aren't. So we'll have to see. As long as I have that sock blank one going, I can cast on something else that's a little more complicated. But we will talk about that later. So next, what else did I work on? I worked on my exploration station. So my goal from last time was to get to the next section, and that so when I showed it to you last, I will show you where I was. I had just finished this section here, which was, I think, sassy slips. So every row you were doing, it was either every row or every other row, you were doing some slip stitches, which kind of gives you that texture that you see there. It was very fun. I enjoyed that section as well. This whole shawl, I've mentioned this before, but this shawl, the way that it's broken up is just, it's so easy to kind of consume in chunks. So this part, the brioche part, was the most kind of mind like consuming part for me this time, only because I had put it aside back in 2019, neglected it for like 3 years, and just picked it back up you know, a month or 2 ago. And I was right in the middle of the brioche section. So I found that pretty challenging getting back into it when I had left it off in the middle of kind of a pattern. But now that I've got that done, and I've done the next section, which was the slips, and then the next section, which I think was called Nothing But Knit, and it was just, you were knitting every row, but then you were sliding your stitches back to kind of re-knit that row in another color, and it ended up giving you this kind of, I'll show you from the right side. It kind of gave you this garter, these garter ridges that were done with 2 colors. So again, very simple. The actual technique was very simple, but the effect was interesting. And then because it was just this one section, I kind of had that goal. It's like, okay, just keep going. We just want to finish this section. Once I get this section done, I can put this aside, work on something else, and then pick it up later. So that's what I did. My goal last time was to get through the next section, which I did. I got my knitting, my Nothing But Knit section done. And now I'm ready for the next section, which is the lace border. So I just have one section to go, and this project is complete. So I just want to give you a quick glance at it all, to kind of what I've done so far. So we have the wedges there done in all the colors. I think it's a 4-color shawl. And if I'm sure you're familiar with the pattern. This pattern has been around for years and years and years. Exploration Station by Stephen West. It's such a good pattern. I'm not a shawl knitter, but I've enjoyed this both times I've knit it, because I've done a fingering weight version as well. This is worsted weight version. And yeah, I would knit it again. I absolutely would. So these are your little wedges that start at the top, and then it goes into the brioche, and this is the right side that I'm showing you. And then we have the slip stitch section, and then we're down to the knit section that I'm at. If you are curious at all, I did go over in the last episode just some tips that I had in case this is a project that's really appealed to you, but you're just kind of, not sure where to start in terms of selecting colors. I kind of went over some tips in the last episode if that's something that you want to look at. But I like how this color combination has been working out. I think I talked about it the very first time I brought this back, but a lot of the reasons that, a lot of what was behind choosing these colors was at the time when I cast this on, these were colors or yarns in my stash that I had that I thought would be enough quantity to make the shawl. And I will say I have had some yardage issues with this shawl. So I think I have plenty of. Where is my skein? I have plenty of. This is some Barocco vintage, and I have plenty of this to do the border. I will be fine with this. The next one was this gray here, which was Madeline Tosh. And I did finish the ball that I was working on from the start of the shawl, and I had another skein in my stash, thank goodness. I probably knew that when I cast the shawl on, but when I ran out, I looked through it, I had another skein, so I had to skein that up, and and I used a portion of that. So that was the second color. The third color was this orange here. And I only had one skein of this when I cast this shawl on, and I did run into yardage issues with this color. I don't know if you'll be able to notice. I think you can, yeah, you can see it in the screen there. So when I was doing the slip section last time, you can kind of see where the orange changes. It's a little bit deeper and richer here, and then it gets a little bit brighter here. So I ran out of the orange, and I had no orange in my stash. Like, a solid orange is just not something that I tend to buy. And oh my goodness, can you hear the traffic out there? During the summer, we are like on a route that people who ride motorcycles for like leisure like to take. And oh, the motorcycles that go by our house. Anyway, so yeah, I ran out of the orange when I was kind of halfway through the slip stitch section. And I had to kind of scramble to figure out what I was going to do for it, because I had no worsted weight in my stash that was orange, anything close. And so what I ended up doing is looking through my stash for some fingering weight that might... First I looked for orange fingering weight, because in my experience, if you hold fingering weight double, it works very closely to a worsted weight yarn. So I was like, okay, do I have any orange sock yarn that I can hold double just for these last couple of rows? And I couldn't find any of that. So what I did end up finding was some yellow sock yarn that was in my scrap bins. And I ended up winding that up and over dyeing that yellow with an orange, a bright orange, to try and get, because you can kind of see, like with the original orange, there's some tonal aspects of that where there's some more yellowy parts of it. So I thought if I over dyed a yellow yarn with a bright orange, I might get something pretty close. And I kind of did. You can see, like, knowing that there's a difference, you can see it. But I don't think if you knew that I had to dye a new yarn for that section, I don't think you would really notice that. And then I also ran out of yarn when I was doing this section here. I ran out of yarn right up here, so just like, again, like a couple of rows to go. I ran out of the speckled yarn. Now I do have some extra skeins of the speckled yarn, but they're part of the yarn that I had put aside and I have up on D-Stash on my website. So I didn't want to take a skein out of that just for like just a little tiny bit of knitting. So what I ended up doing was finding another worsted weight scrap in my stash that kind of had the same undertone. Like, it doesn't have any of the speckling, but if you look at the speckled yarn, like here in this section here, if you look at the speckled yarn, the base of the speckles is kind of like this muted grayish brown. So I figured something like this would work just for just to get me through those couple of rows. And again, I don't think if you knew that I had to switch out yarns and use something different, I don't think you could really tell. And then the border is going to be right next to that section. I don't think anybody's going to be able to tell the difference. So I have got all this done. I am so close to finishing this project, and it is going to be so satisfying to cast that off. Now I will say lace isn't my favorite kind of like knitting to do, so I'm not chomping at the bit there to get into that lace border. But knowing that once I do finish that, this project will be done, and I can block it, and I can put it away for the winter, and I can mark that off my bingo card, and I can like take that out. Like, that's just one more old project out of my kind of whip pile. Is going to be very, very satisfying. So I have very much enjoyed working on that, and yeah, we'll see. there could be another exploration in my future. Who knows? So the other thing that I have to show you, that's the last bit of knitting that I have to show you. But my other goal from the last episode was to finish the bobbins of my spinning. I started a braid of fiber. I actually had 2 braids of fiber. I started one back in December during Vlogmas. And I think on my bingo card this year, I have a square for 2 skeins of hand spun. And I knew if I didn't get cracking on that square, that like I've had hand spun skeins as goals on my bingo card in previous years, and it seems to always be one that never gets finished. So I really wanted to try and like start tackling this square. And I started the fiber back in Vlogmas in December, and then it kind of languished. And then I finished the first bobbin, and I've been working on the second bobbin. And again, it's been languishing. I can only spin, actually, you know what? Today I did a little bit of spinning, and I did it during the day, and I did it when Kira was awake. And she didn't bother me while I was spinning, but she, like when, I would worry that if I walked away from the spinning wheel, she would try to do it herself, and she would make it go all crazy, and she'd make the yarn. If you spin, you know what would happen if like the wheel started being spun in opposite directions and stuff. So that would be my only worry. I would have to make sure that I tucked everything in, I put it away if I was stepping away from my wheel. But while I was actually spinning, she didn't really try and mess with things. She wanted to put her feet on my feet and kind of help me, and that was fine. I could deal with it. So I actually finished this second bobbin today. I was working on it this morning because I just really wanted to get this part done. I think this was my first bobbin here. And the fiber is, if I can remember, Totally Ink Yarns, and the colorway is, oh, what was it? I don't remember. If I can find it, I'll put it on the screen. But yeah, I love how she dyes, and I had 2 skeins of this, or 2 braids of this, because I knew I wanted to do like 2 bobbins and then 2 ply it. Why can't I remember the name of that fiber? That's gonna bother me now. I'm gonna have to look it up, otherwise I'm gonna go to bed tonight and I'm gonna wake up at 2 in the morning with it like shouting, like my head shouting the name of it. So the second bobbin, this is the one that has been on my wheel for the last couple of, I don't know, months. But I finally finished this one. Now looking at it, it's always so hard to tell, especially when there's a gap between your spinning. When I just look at the 2 bobbins together, it looks like this one I spun a little thinner than the first one, but that could also just be the top of the bobbin, like maybe what's underneath is closer in thickness, or maybe this has thinner stuff underneath and it got thicker at the end. I don't know. But the joy of hand spun is once it all kind of, you know, gets plied together, somehow it ends up working out as long as it's not too far off from each other. And I'm just really excited to see these colors work up together. I think it's going to be a really pretty jewel toned skein of hand spun. Do I have any idea what I'm going to do with the hand spun? No. It's probably going to go live in my bin with my other hand spun skeins. But at least I got another skein done. I should have gone through my bin and picked out the next thing. But you know what? I still have to apply this. So when I show you the finished skein of this fiber, then we'll talk about my next one. Okay, so I think that is it. Got my bobbins done. I did my knitting. Oh, I know what I wanted to, I missed telling you. With this shawl, I have this cute little story with Kira. This made me laugh, and maybe it will make you laugh too. But I'll just tell this little story, and then I think I'll share with you the next sock project that I want to work on. So, cute little story. I was working on this. I was sitting in my chair, watching my little shows, knitting away, and Kira came running over, and she's like, "Mommy, what you knitting?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm knitting a shawl. What do you think?" And she's like, "A shawl?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's like a blanket, you know, it's kind of like a smaller blanket that you can wear, or like a bigger scarf to keep you warm. It's a shawl." I was like, "Do you like it?" She's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Do you see the colors? What colors do you see?" And she was looking at it, and she's like, "I see blue and orange and sad." And I'm like, "Sad? You see the color sad? Like, what the heck is that?" So I think what she was referring to is like the gray color. I don't know if she knows the color gray, but I just thought it was hilarious that she equated the color gray with sad, and it was really funny the way she said it in that moment. Anyway, that's a little story for you. And then let's talk about what I'm planning on casting on. Do I think I'm going to cast this on the next time I talk to you? I don't know. Because we're already the middle of July, and I really wanted to cast on a pair of birthday socks to work on July. Usually that's what I do every year is, yeah, for my birthday month, I'll cast on a pair of socks that I want for me. But I haven't cast these on yet, and I don't know if that's going to happen. I might just make that a goal for the next episode. But I've had this skein in my stash for years. I don't know if this has the date. It does have a date on it. Look at that. How convenient. 2015. I've had this in my stash since 2015. This was part of a club that I joined, and it was like a Muppets themed club, and I think I got 3 months, and I think I only kept this skein. The other 2 ones I ended up selling, but I just love this one. This one is called Percussion. I don't think it's gonna pick up the name on there, but it's called it's like percussion, so like animal, and it's a self-striping, and so it's got like orange and pink, and like kind of a reddish color and like black, just those kind of like bright sunsetty pinks and oranges that I really enjoy. And it's a striping. So can you guess what I want to do with this? That's right, I want to do micro stripes. So I have been just racking my brain trying to figure out what color to combine with this. In my head, what I really picture is like a turquoise, but I don't have anything in my stash that is like a bright kind of turquoise color. I think that would be the best kind of contrast that's going to really pop with all those little stripes. A second kind of choice that I found in my stash is kind of like this bright purple. I don't think it's picking up quite accurately in the from what I can see in the screen there. It's not quite so much of a blue purple. It's more of a like a reddish purple. So it's got a bit more pink in it than I see in the screen. But I was thinking that could work, but I don't think it's as nice as aqua would look. Let me know what you think. Do you think I should take the time and dye something from my bare yarn stash in kind of like a bright turquoisey aqua to go with this? Because I feel like that's going to be just really, really kind of bright and eye-catching. Or do you think the kind of bright, it's a brighter purple, if the bright purpley color would look nice with this? Let me know below what you think I should do for that. But that, I think, is the last thing I have to share with you. I updated you on the sale and the website and stuff like that, so I think that's all I have. So let's talk about some goals for next episode. Again, I don't know. Usually I like to try and do about 3 weeks between episodes. I don't know if that's going to happen. I will do my best, but if I get busy with getting ready for the next show, or if we just get busy and I'm not knitting, I'm not sure if it's going to be 3 weeks. But for the next episode, whenever I get back, I'd like to have my exploration station blocked and done, border and everything. So everything done with my exploration station. I would like to have, I think I will have the second sock blank sock going and maybe almost done. I don't know if I'll have it done, but I think I'll have it almost done. I think I will have the first of the green and aqua striped socks. I think I'll have the first one done, and I will be into the second one. I might have my birthday stripes socks cast on, especially if you guys let me know what, or if you think, can you think, if I'm going to have to dye a yarn for this, what contrast do you think would work best with this? That's really going to show and kind of pop against these colors, because I've mentioned before with micro stripes, I find they work the best if the color, the contrast color that you use is not related at all to what's in here. And that I might kind of be going against my own advice there with the purple, because it's a little bit similar, but it is a different color. So let me know if either you think I should do the aqua, if I should do something else completely, let me know. And yeah, I should be able to see those responses before I get going on these. And so maybe I'll have these cast on. Did I say already with my bobbins? I think I'm gonna have these plied. I think this will be done. And maybe I'll make it a goal that if I can get that skein done, I'm going to try starting to spin something right away. Like as soon as it's done, I'm going to pick out some fiber and get a second skein going right away, just to keep that motivation going so that I can block off that card on my bingo. So I think I'm gonna leave my goals at that, just because like I said, I don't know how much knitting time I'm gonna have. And yeah, I think that's gonna be it. I don't think I have any bingo update for you today because I didn't really finish, I haven't finished anything. But next time I should be able to update my bingo card. So I think that is all for now. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you are having a lovely evening, day, weekend, whatever, wherever you are. I hope you're enjoying all the crafty things and doing all the things that bring you joy. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye.